Hello, boys and girls. We have a very special video for you with Mr. Jonathan, who does our Bible answers on our SeedPod for Kids podcast. Now, he is going to be answering the question today, which many of you might have had the last few weeks. And that is, why do bad things happen? And why do wars and horrible things happen to people? Well, Mr. Jonathan is going to be answering that question today, so I hope that you'll be listening closely.
So when I was about 6 years old, I found out that my grandmother had cancer. My mom went down to go visit her and to be with her as she was there at home getting the care that she needed. And then it was my 7th birthday. And on that day, I found out that my grandmother died. And I was so sad. It broke my heart to think that my grandma, who I loved, I would no longer get to see anymore. And if that wasn't bad enough, about 2 years later, my parents got a divorce. And so no longer did I go home and have both my mom and dad living there. I had my mom live in one place and my dad live in another. And these two events were so hard for me to understand because I was raised to believe that God is loving, God is good. But if he was a good, loving God, why did he allow these things to happen to me? And that may be a question that you've asked before. Why does God allow people to get sick? Why does he allow them to die? Why does he allow accidents to happen? Why are there wars and killing and bombing and fighting in the world? Why? If you've ever asked that question, I have good news for you, because the Bible gives us an answer. Jesus had this to say in Matthew chapter 13 and verses 24 to 30. He tells a story of a man who went out and planted good seed in his field. Later, his servants came along and found that it wasn't just good plants that were growing, there were weeds growing as well. And so they asked the owner, "Why is this?" And his explanation was very simple. An enemy has done this. And so they asked him, "Well, what should we do? Should we try to pull up the weeds?" And he said, No, don't pull up the weeds. Let both grow up until the harvest. And then you can pull up the weeds to be burned, and you can pull up the good plants and put them into my barn. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, what does that story have to do with the suffering in this world? Well, it's a good question, because this story was a special kind of a story called a parable, which means that it has deeper meaning. So Jesus' disciples came to him and asked him to explain to them the story that he told about the weeds and the good plants and this field. And so this is what Jesus had to say. He said, "The one who sows the good seed is the Son of Man. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. He who has ears to hear, let him hear." So in other words, there are two kinds of people in this world. There are people who allow the Son of Man to plant seeds of kindness and love in their hearts. And when they are around other people, they are kind and loving. But then there are others who allow Satan to sow seeds of evil and murder and killing and all of these terrible things. They allow Satan to plant those seeds in their hearts. And so when they're around other people, they are mean and unkind, and yes, they can even hurt and kill other people. Jesus could send his angels to this world and try to take away all of the evil people. But here's what would happen. Just like when you're trying to pull out the weeds, sometimes when you're pulling out the weeds, you end up pulling out the good plants as well. And so if Jesus were to send his angels right now and take away the evil people in this world, you might look around and think, well, why did God take away this person? And you would be confused and you would have questions, and maybe you would wonder if God is really a good God. So this is what Jesus does. rather than sending his angels and taking away all the people that Satan has been putting evil thoughts in and causing to do evil things. He lets people grow up, get older, and make their choices. And their choices that they make in their life shows whether they have been letting Jesus plant seeds of kindness and love in their hearts, or if they have been allowing Satan to plant seeds of evil. And when Jesus finally comes, people will have had a chance to choose very clearly and many, many times over if they're letting Jesus plant those seeds in their heart or if they're letting Satan plant those seeds in their heart. And so when we ask the question, why does God allow sickness and death and accidents and war, killing and bombing and fighting and all of these terrible things that are happening in the world today? It's because he wants to give everyone a chance to choose who they're going to serve. Are they going to serve Jesus and let him plant love and kindness in their hearts? Or are they going to choose Satan and let him plant his seeds of evil in their hearts? One day it will be clear to everyone the choices that people have made. And the choice that you want to make is to choose to follow Jesus. Let him plant seeds of kindness and love in your heart so that when Jesus comes, you will be among those people who shine like the sun forever in God's kingdom.